In my last video, we talked about the trap of doing everything right. We explored that heavy, suffocating realization that following the society-approved blueprint, working hard, getting the degree, landing the job, doesn't always lead to the fulfillment we were promised. We talked about how you can win the game on paper, but still feel like you're losing in real life. But since then, I've been thinking about a much harder question. A question that often keeps us awake at 3 in the morning when the house is quiet and our thoughts are loud. If we know the system is flawed, if we know the 9 to 5 is burning us out, if we know we are stuck, then why don't we just leave? Why do we wake up, press snooze 3 times, and walk back into a life that makes us feel like we're fading away? The answer isn't as simple as being lazy. It's not that you lack ambition or that you're not hustling hard enough. In fact, it's much more psychological than that. It's because you're comfortable. And in the modern world, comfort is the most effective cage ever built. To understand why comfort is so dangerous, we have to understand our own history. For 99% of human existence, comfort was the ultimate goal because comfort meant survival. Our ancestors lived in a world of constant threat. If you were warm, you weren't freezing to death. If you were full, you weren't starving. If you were in a safe, predictable cave, you weren't being hunted. For thousands of years, our brains evolved to seek out the path of least resistance. We are biologically programmed to avoid discomfort at all costs, because for a long time, discomfort meant danger. But we no longer live in that world. Today, we live in a world where the predators are gone, but the instinct remains. Our caves are now temperature-controlled apartments with high-speed internet. Our hunting has been replaced by grocery delivery apps and 15-minute shipping. We have reached a point in history where we can satisfy every basic biological urge without ever having to be brave, without ever having to take a risk, and without ever having to leave our couches. This is where the tragedy begins, because while our bodies are safe, our spirits are starving. We're using a survival mechanism from 10,000 years ago to navigate a digital world, and it's keeping us paralyzed in a life that is fine but never great. Let's talk about the golden cage. In the United States and across much of the developed world, the middle-class dream is essentially a list of comforts: a reliable car, a subscription to every streaming service, a brand new smartphone every 2 years, a yearly vacation to a place that looks good on Instagram. None of these things are inherently bad, but they have a price. And that price isn't just the money in your bank account, it's your leverage. There is a concept called lifestyle creep. As soon as we start making more money, we immediately find ways to spend it on more comfort. We move into a slightly bigger house. We eat at slightly nicer restaurants. We buy slightly more expensive clothes. And suddenly, we realize that we cannot quit the job we hate, not because we love the work, but because we love the things the work buys. The paycheck becomes a recurring dose of morphine. It's just enough to numb the pain of the 40-hour work week. It's just enough to make you say, well, it's not that bad. At least I have my weekend. At least I can buy that new gadget. This is how the system sustains itself. It doesn't need to force you to stay at your desk. It just needs to make sure you're addicted to the comfort that the desk provides. We've traded our long-term freedom for short-term convenience. We've traded our potential for a steady stream of dopamine hits delivered in 4K resolution. We are taught from a young age that the ultimate goal in life is stability. We're told to settle down. We're told to find a stable career. But if you look at nature, nothing that is growing is ever truly stable. A forest is a place of constant chaos and competition. A river is only healthy if it's moving. The moment water stops moving and becomes stable, it turns into a swamp. It becomes stagnant. It begins to die. Human beings are no different. Stability is often just a polite word for stagnation. When we reach a point where everything in our lives is predictable, where we know exactly what we will be doing next Tuesday at 2 p.m. and every Tuesday for the next 30 years, we stop growing.
Growth requires the stretch zone. It requires that uncomfortable feeling in your chest when you're doing something you don't know how to do yet. It requires the risk of looking stupid, the risk of failing, and the risk of being judged. But comfort tells us to avoid all of that. Comfort tells us to stay in the safe zone. The problem is that nothing meaningful has ever been built in the safe zone. No great art, no revolutionary business, no deep self-discovery. We are protecting our stability so fiercely that we are accidentally suffocating our own potential. We are choosing a slow, comfortable death over a fast, uncomfortable birth of a new version of ourselves. In the modern world, we aren't just physically comfortable. We are mentally sedated. We live in a culture that is obsessed with self-care. And don't get me wrong, mental health is vital, but the commercial version of self-care has become an excuse for further isolation and comfort. Self-care has become stay home, watch Netflix, eat junk food, and avoid anything that makes you anxious. But sometimes the thing that makes you anxious is exactly what you need to do. The anxiety is a signal that you're at the edge of your cage. The anxiety is your soul telling you that the walls are getting too close. When we spend all our time numbing that anxiety with comforts, scrolling through endless short-form videos, losing ourselves in video games for 10 hours a day, or shopping for things we don't need, it's like taking a painkiller for a broken leg. You might not feel the pain, but the leg is still broken. We are sedating ourselves so we don't have to face the terrifying reality that we are wasting our time. We are using technology not to expand our world, but to shrink it down to the size of a screen where everything is predictable and easy. One of the biggest lies comfort tells us is that we are not ready. I'll start that project when I have more money. I'll take that risk when I have more experience. I'll leave the situation when I feel more secure. Comfort convinces us that there is a magical destination called enough, where we will finally feel safe enough to be brave. But here's the secret. You will never feel ready. You will never feel like you have enough. The horizon of enough moves every time you take a step toward it. If you wait for the feeling of total security before you act, you will be waiting in your living room until the day you die. The system is designed to keep you feeling just insecure enough to keep working, but just comfortable enough to never rebel. We have to realize that the security we are waiting for is an illusion. Life is inherently insecure. The only real security you have is your ability to handle discomfort. The more discomfort you can tolerate, the freer you become. So what is the alternative? Does this mean we have to live a life of misery and suffering? No. Quite the opposite. The alternative is a life of intentional discomfort. It's about realizing that the best things in life are on the other side of a difficult conversation, a hard workout, a risky career move, or a creative project that scares you to death. Think about the most proud moments of your life. I bet they weren't moments where you were sitting on your couch eating chips. They were moments where you struggled, moments where you were tired or scared or unsure of yourself, but you did the thing anyway. We need to stop looking at discomfort as a sign that something is wrong and start looking at it as a sign that something is happening. Discomfort is the friction of growth. In Minecraft, you don't find the rarest materials by staying in your starting house. You find them in the deep, dark caves. You find them by traveling thousands of blocks into the unknown. You find them by risking the game over screen. Your life is the same way. The diamonds of your existence, your true purpose, your deepest relationships, your greatest achievements are not located in the temperature-controlled center of your comfort zone. They are out in the wild. I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow or burn your house down. That's not what this is about. This is about a change of perspective. It's about looking at your golden cage and realizing that the door was never locked. You were just too distracted by the shiny things inside to notice. Start small. Do one thing today that makes you a little nervous. Turn off the distractions for 1 hour and just sit with your own thoughts. Say the thing you've been afraid to say. Start the project you've been researching for 3 years. The real cost of comfort isn't the money you spend. It's the person you never become. It's the version of you that dared to build something meaningful but was silenced by the safety of a boring, fine career. We are so afraid of losing what we have that we forget to look at what we're missing out on. You don't need to have the whole map figured out. You don't need to know where the journey ends. You just need to be brave enough to step outside the house and realize that you were never behind. You were just waiting for the right time to wake up. And that time is now. Clarity is where change begins. And today, you're starting to see clearly. Hang in there.